In this video, I'm going to speak to you about competency-based interviews and help you hopefully get some techniques on how to do well in a competency-based interview. Competence, quite simply, is the ability to do something successfully or efficiently. So in a competency-based interview, the interviewer quite simply wants you to demonstrate your competence, your ability to be successful in a particular task or activity. So I'm going to talk to you about a technique called the STAR technique, which is really simple, but if you can master it, will help you in any competency-based interview going forward. STAR is simply an acronym. So S stands for setting. Some examples where you see it written down, they'll talk about situation, but essentially it's the same thing, the setting. The T is the task, the A is the actions, and R is results. So let me just go through that in a little bit more detail for you. So to demonstrate a competence, you need to be able to give examples, and this STAR technique is perfect for helping you to do that. So S for setting, describe the situation briefly. T, the task, describe briefly what you were asked to achieve, what you were tasked to do. A, the activity or the actions. This is your chance to tell the interviewer exactly what you did, what actions you took. And then R, most importantly, and often the place where people stop too soon before they get to the R, is the results. What were the outcomes of the action? And this is your chance to really shine and really show your competence, not just what you did, but what the result of those actions were. Now, as with any interview, you can never know in advance exactly what questions are going to be asked of you in the interview. But one of the great things about a competency-based interview is that you can actually have a pretty good idea of some of the type of questions that might come up, and you can plan ahead and get your thoughts in order as to some good, solid examples that you might like to give. And the way that you can do this is by really taking your time before the interview to go through the job description and look at the key skills and attributes that the company want in the person for the job that you're interviewing for. This will give you a good steer as to the type of questions that might be asked in the interview. So for instance, if they're looking for somebody with leadership experience, expect a competency-based question around a time where you've led a team successfully, and so forth. Competencies can also be around soft skills as well as experience of practical activities. So another example could be of a competency-based question could be, give us an example of a time where you have successfully handled conflict. Another really common competency-based question that comes up in interviews, particularly if you're interviewing for a role that's anything to do with customer service or any kind of customer-facing role really, which can come up, is to give an example of a time where you have successfully dealt with a customer complaint. Here's the wrong way perhaps to answer that question. You could say, in my current role, I deal with customer complaints all the time. We always get angry customers. I just let them shout at me, and if I can't help them, then I escalate that to the supervisor. You kind of said you're comfortable with it by then and that you've got experience of it, but you've not given any confidence that you can deal with that successfully or give a positive customer experience. So here is perhaps a more rounded example, again using the STAR technique of how you could answer that question more efficiently. So again, starting with the S, the setting, you could say, in my current role, I answered a call and I had a customer who had ordered a product from our website. The item unfortunately was delivered late, and when it arrived, the box was quite badly damaged. So that's the setting. You describe the situation that you're dealing with. Then on to the task. Now the customer was really furious. They tried in vain a few times to get this resolved, and basically nobody had really been able to help them. They were saying they'd never use this again, they were going to go on social media, and that they wanted a better outcome. So my job really was, I took it upon myself that I actually wanted to resolve this for the customer and try and leave them at least feeling a little bit more positive about the situation. So that's the task. So what action did you take? So moving on in your example, you'd start to talk about what you actually did. So first off, when you've got an angry customer on the telephone, I think the best thing you can do is listen to them. Often people, I know it myself, if I'm calling a company, if I feel I'm not being listened to, that's going to just fuel any frustration that I'm feeling. So first and foremost, I listen to the customer. I let them talk to me through the entire situation, what happened to them, and more importantly, how they felt about that. And I empathised rather than trying to push back and disagree with them. Actually, I said I understood, and that must have been so frustrating, and I completely got why they were annoyed and why they felt that we hadn't particularly helped in the situation up until then. And as I'm doing this, as I'm listening and talking, I could feel them beginning to calm down a little bit. So then you're into more of a dialogue, which was great. I gave them time and let them know that I was taking their call seriously, and I think that helps as well. And then I set out to them and told them exactly what I was going to do, which was that I was going to look into this situation personally. In the past, they felt that they'd been passed around the houses to various different people and kept having to explain themselves. So I reassured them that I would see this through right to the end and resolve this for them today, which I did. So I took down all the details, I looked into their situation, I spoke to other people and other departments internally about what could be done, and then most importantly, I got back to the customer personally. And I went back to them and explained that again, it was regrettable the package had arrived late, but at this stage, obviously, we couldn't go back in time and change that. And that although the packaging was damaged, they had confirmed that the product itself inside was fine. So really and truly, their frustration was just that with the lack of customer support and the lateness of the delivery. So again, I apologise wholeheartedly for that from our point of view, but had arranged that they would get a discount on all future purchases with us. They were a regular customer, so it was only a small discount, but it helped, and they were more than satisfied with that, a discount and an apology. And by the end of the call, what had started with a frustrated customer actually ended up with them thanking me for taking the time and trouble to go back to them, and in the end emailing a review to my boss to recognise my performance in the way that I'd handled their query. So I was really, really pleased with that. And there you can see that's given an example of not just saying, yes, I deal with complaints all the time, but how I'm quite comfortable, happy dealing with the complaint and turning that situation completely around from a negative to a positive. So as a potential interviewer, I've really demonstrated my skills there. So that's it really. There's some great examples there of how you can use that STAR technique. I would suggest practicing. Think of some good solid examples from your experience, or whatever job it is that you do. Think of some good examples that you can use to demonstrate the key competencies or capabilities that you need to be good in your own particular field. If you can get really comfortable talking about those examples, that will help you in any future interviews. And keep challenging yourself to ensure that you're following that STAR technique from beginning right through to the end, right through to the result and the outcome, because that's where the real magic happens when you're giving an example. Good luck.